So fracking becomes more effective if we drill and place our laterals in this lithofacies 3. Some companies like to track the low side of it. Some right in it. Some like to stay on the high side of it. But generally speaking, it's a zone that we like to see geologically so that we can follow this zone. And when you think about it, when you're drilling horizontally, now I know here around Fargo, which is absolutely gorgeous, things are pretty flat. However, when you get back into western North Dakota, there's a little bit more, not much, but a little bit more contours and topography going on. And that goes on underground as well. Our formations are not flat. They roll, they go uphill, they go downhill, they shift sometimes. You get a little bit of minor faulting. These are all things that the geologist uses these tools to help track and geosteer these wells. So my job and my crew's job is to read the samples, evaluate them, read all these things, and help the oil company and the directional driller track as we drill horizontally. How do we do it? Well, we do it with mud motors. The key part, when we drill vertically down, we drill our surface hole, we set our casing down into the pure formation of the Cretaceous. Then we come back and we drill vertically down to kickoff point. Now, kickoff point is the point where we start building our curve portion of the well. So once we have drilled vertically, we trip out, pick up our mud motor. Our mud motor, shown by my handy little straw, it just seems to work very well to show this. The key part is that bent sub, that little yellow bent sub up there. And what that is that allows the assembly downhole to have a little bit of a turn to it, a little bit of an angle. And when we start drilling our curve, we do what's called oriented drilling. We put the assembly in the hole, we have a little bend to that motor, and this is greatly exaggerated, and we have a bit on the end of that. During oriented drilling, we are determined by the oil company which direction we want to start and drill our well. We orient the drill string, and we push the pipe. The only thing turning is the bit. So we're kind of like augering our way down to build a curve and land in our zone. Now, during that curve, the geologist is reading all the formation markers, trying to determine if they're coming in a little higher or a little lower than planned. Now, as we adjust to that, the directional driller can then tighten that curve up a little bit, or maybe drill a tangent and drop it down a little bit. And as I say the word tangent, I will tell you that I encourage any of the young people that I talk with is, get your math, get your geometry, your trigonometry. This is one field where a young person will absolutely use that trigonometry. We use all these different formulas, sines and cosines, and I encourage all our young, I think we have a wealth of talent in our colleges right here. I really feel that. I know it. I'm fortunate enough to work with the universities and hire some of these young people and keep them right here at home in North Dakota. No longer do we have to send our young talent out to other areas. We can keep them at home, and we have a wonderful talent pool right here in North Dakota. Now, when we're drilling these wells, we orient these tools. There's a survey tool as part of this component. Now, as I said, how does that, when you have this assembly together, the bent housing is a very key part of it. Another very key part is the rotor that is inside here. For those of you who are farmers, you know what a grain auger is. As you pump fluid down through the mud motor, it transmits torque to the bit. So the bit is turning and augering its way as the weight of the drill pipe is pushing it down through the hole and augering this hole. So what we do is we go and we land down into our zone. Now we're horizontal, and this is 10,000 feet of true vertical depth, TVD. But these wells are also measured in measured depth. So the measured depth is the amount of pipe it takes to get out to land into that curve, stop and run another casing string, cement it in place, another line of security to preserve the wellbore, and then we drill horizontally. We will drill 2 miles sideways. And you have to remember, that bit is 6 inches in diameter. So when we are drilling, we have a drill rig at the surface that is steering a 6-inch bit that is 20,000 feet over there. To me, that is just incredible. I mean, I find that technology fascinating. I was out at one of the rigs, and I was telling Ron and Lynn and all have heard my little story about how I used to get so bored in these trailers and, cabin fever, I'd have to go out and take a walk. That was one of my ways to just get a little break. I go out one day up by McGregor, North Dakota. I'm walking out around the section, and I'm across this one section line, and all of a sudden it has dawned on me. I'm standing out here in the middle of the section in the road. The rig is standing 1 mile over that way, and it has occurred to me that the bit, because I know the angle that this wellbore went, the azimuth it went, has passed underneath where I'm standing, and the bit is now 2 miles over that way. This is being steered 6 inches, and we know exactly where that bit is, and this is all regulated by Mr. Lynn Helms and his crew, by a drilling rig and its computers that is 20,000 feet away over to that direction. Now, when you think about that, that is incredible. I just think it's great. I think the technology involved here is absolutely fascinating. I want to go on a little bit about the Sanish Formation. It's located once again in the western part. It lays underneath the Bakken. And the reason I want to show these pictures, you look at these little pictures on the right-hand side, I have a series of pictures that have taken of digital pictures from rocks under my microscope. So these are about 30, 40 times magnification. And I just want to show you, to me it's just really neat to see how this rock changes as you go down. And I talk about the lithofacies in the middle Bakken. Well, we have lithofacies within the Sanish as well. The Sanish is part of the Three Forks Formation. The Sanish is at the top of the Three Forks, and it is another conduit to lay our little straws in to extract this Bakken crude oil. Now, if you look at that sample there, now as we come down into the middle stringer, you can see that that rock gets kind of gummy and gray looking. Go to the next picture. We're down into our target zone. And what I'm looking for here when I look at this is I look for these pieces that have rough little edges, these little bumpy textures to them. Those are the sandstones. And that's how I can tell that which lithofacies or which layer we're in. And we do have a preferable layer to be in. So these are kind of the things that the geologist looks for. You get down into the base. Once again, they change a little bit. And there's the Three Forks Shale. Now, it looks pretty obvious here when you're looking at rock coming up a wellbore from 20,000 feet away, and they start getting a little jumbled up and everything. It gets a little tricky to tell just which rock you're looking at. But we try. We try real hard to geosteer these wells where we want them. Currently, where are we? We're moving ahead pretty well. There's a lot of research to be done. My one thing is I say that we're very early in this Bakken and Three Forks play. I'm reading a series of books, and I don't know if any of you here, we're in the Red River Valley. They're called Red River Valley of the North. And it tells about the pioneers coming to Fargo area, Grand Forks area, and developing this area. And one thing that I get out of these books is the people were overwhelmed with the opportunities. And I feel that that's where we are right now. We have so much to do in North Dakota. The opportunities are there. And east meets west and west meets east, and we work together on these things. The opportunities in North Dakota are just terrific. I think moving forward, there's going to be different phases to this drilling. We're in the early phases, number 1 and 2. We're establishing where the oil is. We're also getting to the point where we're trying to drill and hold some leases for these companies. Eventually, we're going to get into and we already are, into multi-well drilling and pad drilling, and eventually into secondary and tertiary recovery. I know Dakota Gasification has a nice little example in their display in the other room, and I encourage you to take a look at that. That kind of explains what secondary recovery is with a CO2 process. Phase 1 and Phase 2, what we're doing, you can drill one lateral off of a pad. As we get into Phase 2, 3, we're going to be adding multiple laterals to these well bores. And what this will do is this is going to allow us to drill multiple wells off of one pad, one site. We will drill down and drill multiple Bakken wells. We will drill down, and already are, multiple Three Forks. These wells